Hey.
So Barnes, Cornette, and Devin Vassell. Vassell, the hot hand all night. Harper's been great as well off the bench.
Wow.
What a pass by the rookie and the finish by Cornette.
Wow-wee. That's unbelievable. That was nasty.
Welcome back to the Box Score Watching channel. Today we are continuing our rookie reviews from this past season, and today we're talking about Dylan Harper. Even though he was not technically really in the running for Rookie of the Year, the race was mainly between Cooper Flagg and Colin Knippel. I do think that there is an argument that could be made that Dylan Harper was the most impressive rookie from this past season, because even though his statistical numbers, just counting stats, were not that crazy throughout the season compared to some of his classmates, when you factor in the context of him being pigeonholed into that six-man role on a team with real championship aspirations, in addition to all of the absolute banger games he had in the playoffs, if you combine all that, then again, I think you could at least make an argument that Harper was the best and most impressive rookie from this past season. Do I agree with that? Not really, not necessarily, but again, I think the argument could be made. Anyway, speaking of stats, let's check out his monthlies from his rookie season. Now, he came out the gates pretty good. You know, he's averaging 14, 4, and 4. Pretty good efficiencies. If you remember, this was back when De'Aaron Fox started the season sidelined with that calf injury, I believe it was. So, you know, he was seeing a little bit more burn. Eventually got hurt in November, and when he came back, you know, December was a little rough. January started a little rough. I'm pretty sure De'Aaron Fox was back at this point, so he was also fighting for minutes as the guard rotation was fully packed out. And again, despite coming back from the injury and having a little bit of a rough time in December, January, from February on, even just throughout May and June in the playoffs, his numbers steadily improved, and he was putting up some just really nice games throughout the rest of the season. Now, to dig into some other stats, normally I would go with the regular season stuff, but because he had such a big sample size from the playoffs, he played 23 total games. Again, I would prefer a bigger sample size, but considering it's playoff basketball, and playoff basketball is way more telling the truth than regular season basketball. Anyways, per 75 possession stats from the playoffs for Dylan Harper. In terms of the catch-all stuff, he finished 94th percentile in Darko plus minus. Again, if you're not a fan of the catch-all stuff like me, that's cool, but again, I do think it is cool to note that he was pretty outstanding in that facet of the statistical world. From there, in terms of some scoring stats, we can see he was 95th percentile in points created. Again, that's points that he scores in addition to points that his teammates score off of his assists. He was 91st percentile in free throw rate, which is just free throw attempts divided by field goal attempts. Basically tells you how often you're getting to the line in terms of how often you shoot the basketball. And then easily the most impressive stat was him being 100 percentile in rim attempts. So amongst guards, Dylan Harper per 75 possessions quite literally had the most field goal attempts at the rim amongst anyone in the entire NBA playoffs, which is quite an accomplishment for a rookie. And it's not even like he was that bad at converting them. He shot 66.1% on those attempts, which was good enough for 73rd percentile, which is well above average. And even digging into some of the tape, it all holds up. For this play here, he's going to collect this loose rebound, push in transition. I love how he just effortlessly gets by Anthony Black and meets Jalen Suggs at the rim for a really tough and one finish. Here it's a nice transition opportunity. Keldon Johnson's going to swing him the rock his way. And at this point, Jakob Poeltl is too slow getting back to the rim to protect it. Dylan Harper realizes that there is absolutely nobody in the paint. You know, there's Brandon Ingram, but again, I repeat, there's absolutely nobody in the paint. So he's just going to give a nice little hesitation move to Emmanuel quickly, get right by him for a nice, easy, uncontested layup. And it's a similar situation here. Again, leading the fast break, he's going to push tempo against AJ Mitchell. As you can see, again, there's nobody that's going to be protecting the rim in the paint. You know, J Dub's probably your closest option, but he's worried about Keldon Johnson at the perimeter. And what I really love about Dylan Harper on his drives is he's just such a patient driver of the basketball. He really takes his time, and he has impeccable footwork that you'll see here on this nice little Euro step that he uses after he sheds AJ Mitchell on the drive. And then there's this one specific move that Dylan Harper has is this like behind the back dribble that he pulls it out sometimes, and I don't know what it is about it, but he just makes it look so effortless and smooth that when he is driving to the rim, defenders just do not know what to do with it because of the sudden change in direction he's able to execute by using this behind the back move. And I'll show you a few examples here. For example, here he's going to grab the rebound, push in transition, and Jamison Battle just gets absolutely left in the dust with this behind the back move, hop step, easy lay at the rim. Or on this play here, he's going to receive the screen from Sohan, go ISO mode versus Anthony Black. Maybe he hits him a little bit in the face, but again, it just absolutely loses him for another easy layup. And this one's easily my favorite. Franz Wagner misses a dunk. Dylan Harper picks up the loose ball and just immediately loses Anthony Black in transition, gets fouled, gets free throws. That behind the back move is just such a deadly weapon for him. Diving back into some of these advanced stats, I got all these from Data Baller, if I didn't mention that earlier. And one of the cool things about Data Baller, there's a specific page where they separate scoring basically into 4 categories. So you have your create shot possessions where it's either like an ISO or you're the pick and roll handler or it's a post up. They have the space category, which is all about spot up shooting, handoffs, off ball screens. They have your transition category, which is self-explanatory transition, and they have the finish category, which is all put back, cuts, or if you're the pick and roll man, and then just other miscellaneous stuff. And if you look through, you can see that in general, Dylan Harper finished 90th percentile in true shooting percentage at 60.6%, which is already great. But then you could also just look through each of the different categories and see that he was amongst the absolute elite when it came to shot attempts under the creation, the self creation shot attempts, the transition shot attempts, and the finishing shot attempts. I know the spacing shot attempts he was a little bit lackluster at 84%, but I think he'll be okay. But similar to Cooper Flag, there are some red flags with Dylan Harper and his shot diet. And again, it has to do with the 3-point attempts because if you look at his 3-point percentage from the playoffs, per 75, even throughout the regular season, he was right about average. I know it's 73rd percentile for the playoffs. I think that's a little inflated just because there is a smaller sample size of players because again 33% it's right around average, but it's not great. But I'm not even really worried about the percentage part. I'm more worried about the 3-point attempts and the 3-point rate, as you can see here, because Dylan Harper finished 7th percentile in 3-point attempts with 4.1 per 75 possessions, and he was 4th percentile in 3-point rate, which a slightly different stat that basically is just your 3-point attempts divided by your total field goal attempts. So again, all of this is to say that Dylan Harper, despite being a very average 3-point shooter, just was not willing to let them fly, which was a very noticeable trend for the San Antonio Spurs guards, especially in the NBA Finals. It made life on Wemby scoring the ball so much more difficult because of the fact that the Knicks didn't have to worry about the San Antonio guards pulling up for threes off of the pick and rolls or just other similar situations to that. And it was the lack of a 3-point threat amongst Fox, Castle, and Dylan Harper that again just made life more difficult for the San Antonio offense than it probably should have been. And why this interests me so much for Dylan Harper is again because it's not even like he was that bad of a 3-point shooter. And again, it's only his rookie season. Like, he has plenty of time to improve the jump shot and everything. But to me, he's probably the most hopeful out of that big 3 guards between him, Fox, and Castle to be a consistent 3-point shooter because, De'Aaron Fox had like one good season as a 3-point shooter and just been pretty mid the rest of his time. Stephon Castle took a bit of a leap last year, but even him I'd consider pretty unreliable. So if Harper was able to get that 3-point attempt rate up and the percentage up just like a tad bit, it would do so many wonders for that San Antonio offense. Now, to end the stats on a good note, one of the big trends in the NBA right now is this idea of possession maxing, getting rebounds, getting turnovers, all that good stuff. That it's just it's always a good idea to have more possessions than your opponent, and Dylan Harper fits that bill perfectly. It's another reason why I think so many people are excited for his two-way potential is of how strong of a rebounder he is. And as you can see in the playoffs amongst guards, he was 96th percentile in just total rebounds per 75 possessions. He was also 94th percentile in defensive rebound percentage and 91st percentile in offensive rebound percentage. All just really, really solid stuff. Now, one thing that I found interesting to be missing from his data baller stat page was that he was pretty average when it came to a lot of the defensive stats. Like, the team defensive stats are pretty good just because, the San Antonio Spurs were one of the best defenses in the league, anchored by Victor Wembanyama. And even when watching all the games I watched for this video, Dylan Harper was consistently just a really strong defender out on the perimeter, and he was low key kind of nice at guarding some bigger guys when it came in the paint and post up opportunities as well. So again, I say all that to say I was shocked that there weren't more defensive statistics that were in his favor, like a lot of the other statistics I've shown you up to this point in the video. Because again, the tape was really strong in this area. Like I mentioned how he did a really good job of guarding guys that are just flat out bigger than him. And on this possession here, we're going to see him be put in isolation versus Brandon Ingram, and he just slides right with them and gets a really good contest on Brandon Ingram, which isn't an easy thing to do. He has a really high release point on his jumper, but as you can see here, he goes for the spin and tries to fade, and Dylan Harper is just right in his airspace, not giving him any space to even get a clean attempt off. Or on this play here, he's going to get posted up by Scotty Barnes, and again, just slides right with him. A really strong defender is able to stay his ground, and eventually it leads to him getting the strip steal on Scotty Barnes. And again, just a really stout post defender, kind of similar to like what James Harden has been in his career. And lastly, here he is guarding Chet Holmgren out on the perimeter. Holmgren tries to get in his bag and get a nice little move off here, but again, Harper sticks right with him. Shot clock winding down, eventually forces the shot clock violation. And then even outside of the one-on-one isolation matchups, he's just such a smart defender when it comes to off-ball stuff and defensive IQ, as we can see in these plays here. Here, the Orlando Magic are going to go to get action, but between Desmond Bane feeding Goga Batadze, and Franz Wagner slips this original screen for Desmond Bane very quickly, as you can see right here, slips it. Goga is going to try to make this pass into Franz, but as you can see, Dylan Harper's camped out on this weak side corner spot, and he reads it as soon as Goga catches the ball. That is going to try to be a backdoor pass to Franz. So what does he do? Jumps it, comes away with the ball, and then not only that, but does a really good job pushing and transition, puts Anthony Black into jail, and then drives the rim, forcing Goga Batadze to have to play up on him, and that leaves Julian Champagny wide open, cutting into the corner, who knocks down the three. A really great two-way possession from Dylan Harper. Or we have this possession here where Dylan Harper is going to get switched out onto Jared McCain, does a really good job of sticking with him out on the perimeter. He's going to get the ball back here from AJ Mitchell, and even though McCain gets the step on him on this catch and drive opportunity, Dylan Harper doesn't give up on the play. Him and Steph Castle do a really good job of peel switching this possession here. So not only does Jared McCain get his drive cut off, and when he tries to kick out to that guy that he thinks is open, Dylan Harper, again, on that peel switch, is going to be right there for the steal. Again, just really great work from the San Antonio defense. I even really like this play here, even though it's a little more subtle. Anthony Black is going to get the rebound and immediately push in transition. And at this point, you can see he gets by De'Aaron Fox, and everyone else is kind of like matched up on their own guy here. So no one's really stopping the ball. As again, Harrison Barnes is locked in on Jonathan Isaac. Carter Bryant's over here on Desmond Bane, and then as you can see on the backside here, Dylan Harper is sticking with Jace Richardson. So no one's really picking up Anthony Black, but instead of giving him a free lane to the rim, luckily Dylan Harper realizes that no one's going to step up, so he does instead, and instead of, again, just giving Anthony Black an easy layup, He makes him stop in Euro step, which gives time for Carter Bryant to get a setup for a nice block opportunity, saving the bucket for the Spurs. Before we wrap this video up, I have a few passing clips that I wanted to take a look at too, because again, kind of similar to like the defensive stuff, there weren't really any stats that jumped out outside of like the points created stat I showed you earlier. But again, Dylan Harper is a solid passer of the basketball. He's a really good connected passer. He's also just good in the pick and roll, which is something that I feel like he wasn't really able to show off too much this season, considering he had a smaller role and is usually one of De'Aaron Fox or Steph Castle running the show on offense. But again, in his limited action, he did show a lot of flashes of being able to, make nice skip passes, hit his roll man, all that good stuff. For example, this play here, it's going to be Spain pick and roll, but it gets started with a little ram action with Harrison Barnes setting the screen for Sohan, who then comes at the screen for Dylan Harper. And as you can see, the Spain action with Harrison Barnes then setting the screen on Sohan's man again. What that's going to end up doing is giving Dylan Harper a nice little lane to the rim. We'll let it roll for a little bit. Now, Franz Wagner, if you hadn't noticed him in the corner over here, it's going to be his job to step in and try to offer help defense, which leaves Devin Vassell wide open in the corner. So Dylan Harper is going to read all this and make a nice skip pass over to Vassell in the corner, wide open for the three. I also really like this possession from this playoff game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's really just going to be a simple pick and roll between him and Wemby. Alex Caruso is going to try and do his best to stay on Wembanyama, as he's the guy the Thunder want guarding him. They don't want to switch this. And Dylan Harper, as we roll the clip, is just going to do a really good job of being patient and not forcing the issue at any point. So even though that means he's going to reject the screen a couple times and kind of just dance around, because again, you see Alex Caruso is really not trying to leave Wembanyama. He is doing a really good job of trying to let Casey Wallace fight through the screen. So what does Dylan Harper do? He basically, again, just stays patient, works his way closer to the basket until he eventually gets to the point where the screen is now being set inside the three-point line. And Casey Wallace can't really go under the screen at this point. Dylan Harper is finally going to use it, turns the corner just enough that Alex Caruso is going to have to pop off of Wembanyama for just a split second, and it's in that split second that Dylan Harper hits Wembanyama, who then goes to work, gets the easy bucket over Chet Holmgren. Again, a very, very subtle possession by Dylan Harper, but again, just really showing off that IQ and the passing abilities. And that's about all I got for clips and stuff and stats. Just to wrap up, again, Dylan Harper, I think there are definitely people out there that could make the case that he was the best and most impressive rookie from this past draft class. And even if you don't believe in that, I think it's pretty safe to say that Dylan Harper has a pretty bright future ahead of him. I would not at all be surprised if he ends up with multiple All NBA accolades throughout his career. It won't be happening next season, unfortunately, because of the situation with just how stacked that guard room is. And I just cannot. I would love to know what the Spurs front office thinks about the whole De'Aaron Fox scenario with, the fact that they traded for him and then lucked into this Dylan Harper pick. And I'm just curious how many of them, if they could get access to a time machine, would go back and not do the De'Aaron Fox trade, knowing that they get Dylan Harper in the offseason. But anyway, it seems like he's going to slide into that six-man role again. And even though that really sucks as someone who loves to watch Dylan Harper play basketball, it is really cool to see him, take this San Antonio Spurs method and just be cool with being a six man and trying to win a championship, because there are a lot of players in the NBA who I think would be throwing an absolute fit about not getting the playing time that they deserve, which is all just another reason to really like Dylan Harper and enjoy him as an NBA player, because he is a breath of fresh air. He's someone who is just a super ethical hooper with a really good basketball IQ. And again, he's going to have a really bright future ahead of him. That's enough from me. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all of those beautiful things. And as always, I'll catch y'all in the next one.